Hey girl, hey, my name is Sheena DeFord. I am going live today for a Lunch and Learn with Shannon Keating. She is a California based human design reader and intuitive coach. So, we're going to be talking about intuition and discovering your intuitive gifts. So, we want to hear from you. We want to hear what questions you have. Please don't be shy about dropping a question down in the comments. Hello, welcome, Chelsea. Hi, Amanda. So we're going to be giving just a moment yes, we're going to be inviting Shannon to join. I'm sending you. For those who are tuning in, welcome. Please feel free to tell us a little bit about yourself below in the comments. Hi, Shannon. How are you?
Hi. Good. How are you?
Doing great. It's so awesome to get to chat with you today.
I know. I'm excited. Here we go.
Yes, yes. Okay, so let's go ahead and dive in. Tell us a little bit about who you are and tell us a little bit about your business.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm Shannon Keating, and I'm based out of San Diego. So I'm on the Pacific Coast right now, but grew up on the East Coast. And as far as my business goes, I'm a holistic life coach for women and teen girls. And I mean, everything I do is centered around helping women and young women get to know themselves, love themselves, trust themselves, and then ultimately be their most authentic selves in our world and feel free to not compare so much, not compete so much, to not get so triggered and jealous and insecure and really overcome those challenges. And then I also have a podcast. I do human design readings. I do intuitive readings. And then I recently founded a company called Babes Rising, which is dedicated to our younger generation of women, giving them access to coaches, mentors, educational resources, and tools like meditation, journaling prompts, financial wellness tools, and just things that I feel like school systems aren't teaching around how to really thrive as a young woman in our day and age.
So incredible. There are so many beautiful layers to what you do, and I'm really excited to dive into a few of them today. So I have some questions over here off to my right, so forgive me for looking off to the side a little bit. So how do you discern between intuition and fear? So if you're new to really, harnessing the power of your intuition, like those things are going to feel the same. So what are your thoughts on that?
Yes. Yes, I love it. Okay, I love this question because it's something that I get asked a lot. And it's also something I feel is just really important that we know how to discern between because they do feel the same. And oftentimes when we listen to our intuition, fear is a byproduct or fear comes with it because when we are listening to our intuition, oftentimes we're going against the grain or we're doing things that we haven't done before or we're doing things that our family members haven't done before, the women of our generation haven't done before. So we're doing things that are new outside our comfort zones and fear comes up, which I find can really block individuals from listening to their intuition because there's fear clouding it, and then they get paralyzed or they avoid or they procrastinate or they just don't really listen. So the first thing that's really important that I like to tell people is, again, when you're connecting to your intuition, fear might come along for the journey. However, the energy and the essence of fear versus intuition is different. Fear is going to make your nervous system feel really unsettled. It might also sound jarring or intense. It might sound like the voice of your inner critic or your ego. So fear is very human. It's very kind of harsh. It's in your body. You don't feel grounded. You don't feel authentic. You don't feel settled. Your nervous system might be on high alert. So that's fear. So like the energy and texture of fear, it's not kind and it's kind of alarming. Now, intuition, when you really tune into the energy of it, it's soft, it's gentle, it's loving, it's kind. If you were to sit with the intuitive guidance or the feelings or the knowings and you were to tune into your body would feel grounded, your heart would feel open, you would feel settled. If you follow your intuition, you'll feel peaceful afterwards. You'll know you did the right thing. So the energy of them is quite different when you actually just get present with it. Now, then again, I will just say with intuition, even if it's grounded and settled and it's kind and gentle and loving, fear might come up because you're getting outside your comfort zone. Or maybe you're making a decision that might impact or potentially hurt other people's feelings or trigger other people, or you're quitting your job to pursue your dreams, and that's really scary. But when you go into the intuition would be saying, quit your job, everything's going to work out. Whereas fear might say, hold on tight, you're financially secure here, don't quit. So it's the energy of it's very, very different. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and I love the example of, you know, quitting your job. I mean, a lot of the folk who are tuning in today, like, hi everyone, have done that before. Like they have quit their job before to start their business or to go full time in their business. Or some of the people on this talk might be thinking about that. Like that might be in their near future. So that's such a great example. But, you know, our intuition can help us to choose whether to do something or whether to not do something. Because, you know, I mean, for some of the business owners on this call, like we also have to have a pulse on it so that we know what's a right fit, like what to pull back from, maybe what to say no thank you to. So that was so wonderful, Shannon. Thank you. And so I know like we've already gotten this chat going, but can we talk a little bit about what are intuitive gifts? What does that look like from person to person, and how do they show up for us?
Yes. Okay. I really love this question, and I just love empowering individuals around their intuitive gifts, because we're all intuitive people and we all can be very connected to our intuition. I know myself, for example, I used to have this story. I think we all have these stories, right? I had this story like, oh, well, I'm really intuitive for other people, but maybe not so much for myself. Like I can always give other people good advice, but I'm kind of like, I have blind spots. And yeah, we have blind spots and we can tend to like see clearly for others a little bit stronger. But when I kept saying that, I kept putting out into the universe, I don't have a strong enough intuition. I need to ask others what they think about my decisions. What do they think that I should do? When in reality, got a very, very strong, clear intuition for myself and for others. So I think it's really important first that women really look at, or individuals look at, what are some stories that I might have around my intuition? Do I say that I'm not very intuitive, or do I say that, you know, X, Y, and Z? Like, what are the stories there? I'm like not deeply connected, or whatever it happens to be. So really pull those apart and pull them, you know, break them down and recognize you are very intuitive and you do have a way that your intuition communicates to you. So that's the other thing, is when we teach intuition, we cannot just teach it so broad, because it's very individualized person to person. And there's like a dozen different ways that intuition operates, and that intuitive information comes through individual to individual to individual. Now, to keep it more simpler, we'll say there's about 4 to 5 main intuitive gifts that people can regularly connect with. The first one would be clairvoyance, and this is clear seeing. So this could be someone who is natural at visualizing things, or they have more of that kind of visual brain, or they can, you know, sit in a meditation and get images, or they're really image focused, or they learn right through images, or they dream different things and they'll see pictures in their mind, or as someone's describing something, they can like paint a picture in their minds. So that's someone who, one of your intuitive gifts would be clairvoyance. So clear seeing, clear visioning, and as you connect to your that intuitive gift more, intuitive information will come through via images that you get. And if you're trying to manifest or create things in your life, working with that practice of visualization is really, really helpful. So this is one of my gifts. So visualizing things before they happen, visualizing things I want to happen, sitting and really visualizing it helps me so, so much. And then when I do intuitive readings for individuals, I get pictures and images that I then share out loud with them. So that's the first one. And just as I share these, just think about, okay, do I relate to that? Or am I really curious about that one? Because any of the ones that maybe you are interested or curious by, you potentially have them. And either it's very developed and or you can spend more time developing it more and more and get more connected to it. So that's clairvoyance. And Gina, I want you to kind of, after I share, tell me which ones do you feel most connected to?
Yeah, absolutely. And I wanted,
yeah.
real quick, I wanted to say, for anyone who is tuning in, if one of the gifts that Shannon shares, and you feel like, oh, that's me, like, please let us know in the comments. Like, we want to customize this conversation for you. Okay, back to you, Shannon.
Yeah. Okay. So that's clairvoyance. And also when I'm sharing these gifts, they can be for you and or others. So you might get visions for yourself or really be connected to visualization, and or you might get visions for other people too. Or you could just like, you can see things for other people so clearly, right? When someone's telling you a goal of theirs, it's like you get a vision in their mind. You can see them on stage. You can see them writing the book. You can see them married. So you get these visual information that comes through. So that's clairvoyance. The next one is clairsentience. And this is another common one, especially for those who identify as like women, because we're such feelers and feeling based. So the clairsentience is clear feeling. Mm-hmm. So it's as people are describing things to you, you get goosebumps, or you get, that doesn't feel quite right. You're getting kind of like, I get off feelings about that situation or that person, or, you know, you're having a conversation or you're in a coffee shop and you're like, the vibe's not quite right here. I don't feel right about this. So Lorena has that one, right? It's the feeling, or I feel really good about this person, or I feel really good about the situation. Or again, someone's describing something and you're like, oh my gosh, you have to say yes to that thing. Like I get such a good feeling about that opportunity for you. So that's clear feeling. That's clairsentience. And again, in conversation with other people, for yourself, that one will come through. The next one is called claircognizance. And this one is clear knowing. You just know. And this is like one of my strongest ones. And it's confusing though, because again, if we haven't been validated in our intuition when we were kids, or we have stories around our intuition, or we just know things, but maybe our parents aren't validating and our teachers aren't validating it. And we're like, no, this is wrong. And nobody is validating us. They're saying like, oh yeah, you might have some intuitive information there, or you're, you know, trying to get your parents' advice or whatever it is, and you don't get that confirmation. You can start to question this one, because like clairvoyance, there's an image. Clairsentience, there's a feeling. Clear knowing, there isn't something like that other than a knowing that you have to trust. So it's like, I just know. I know, for example, for me, I just knew I was supposed to move to San Diego. There was no logical information as to why I was going to San Diego. No job, no community here. I'm from the East Coast, no family here, right? So it's like, it doesn't make logical sense, but that knowing of, I know that's where I'm meant to be right now. So clear knowing is claircognizance, or it could be somebody says something to you and you just know, or you meet someone, you just know they're meant to be in your life. And that could be a friend, that could be a relationship, but that clear knowing, or something happens and you say, I knew that was going to happen. I knew that relationship was going to end, or I knew that was going to happen. I knew it. I didn't even know I knew it, but I knew it. So that's claircognizance. So we've got over clairvoyance, sentience, claircognizance. I'll just do like a couple more common ones. The next one is clairaudience, and this is hearing. So clairaudience is, there's a couple ways that clairaudience works. And again, for everyone who's joining, these are ways that your intuition communicates to you, for yourself, for others. So clairaudience, and I'll answer that question in one moment.
Perfect.
So clairaudience is, okay, I'm hearing messages from God, from angels, from spirit guides, from my own intuition, whatever you connect with. Now, you can connect with anything you want to connect with, but it's I'm hearing things. I hear direct guidance from God. I hear my angels. I hear just my own thoughts that I can tell are truth or information or guidance. So it's, I'm hearing messages for either myself and or others. So this is another one that I have access to. So I do intuitive readings, and when I'm doing them, I will just hear things. Another way this it could come through, where you just hear a message of like, reach out to so-and-so, right? But it's like you hear it as a thought, and the texture of the thought is different to your normal day-to-day thoughts. So that's how you know it's more of an intuitive kind of gift coming through, is it's not like, okay, I'm going to eat dinner and then I'm going to do X, Y, and Z, and then I'm going to blah, blah, blah. It's more like, reach out to that person. and you're like, huh, let me pay attention. And then you reach out and turns out, you know, they wanted to get together, or they had a family loss, or something happened and there was a reason why you needed to reach out to them, or you see it in the future. Another way clairaudience can come through is you being really, really connected to music and you receiving messages from music. So it could be all of a sudden you're driving and the song, you know, the lyrics in the song are specifically for you. Maybe it's one lyric, maybe it's the entire song, but it's the exact guidance, the exact advice you needed that day. And or you're moving about your day and you'll just get song lyrics in your mind. It could be a jingle, it could be one lyric, it could be an entire song, but song lyrics start to come through. And that's another way that spirit guides like to communicate to us. So that's another way, if you're clairaudient, you know, it might just be so connected to music, and or you.
Oh, yeah. We had a little bit of a glitch,
Okay.
but I think we're back.
Okay. And or you hear music in that way. So again, clairvoyance, there's claircognizance, there's clairaudience, there's clairsentience, and then I'll pause right there because that's like the main ones, and then you can go into like clear smelling, like different things. There's clear touch, there's different ones that you can kind of tune into, but those would be the four most common that people typically use and connect with, and then you can kind of like fine tune from there. But just to give something people can work with. And then we had a question that I'll answer about claircognizance. Is claircognizance synonymous with following an insight? I would say yes, because it's very insightful. It would be, yeah, I'm getting an insight, I'm getting a knowing, I'm getting just a feeling, and then I'm going to follow through with it. So yeah, I would say it could be very synonymous with like an insight or a knowing. So I would say insight, knowing. Feeling is more of the kind of clairsentience, the feeling. The claircognizance would be more just, I just know. I just sense, I just know. And it's hard to even describe, if that makes sense. If you have that one, you kind of just, you relate to it, where you've just known things, but you can't explain it. And that's the other thing about intuition is typically we cannot kind of rationalize or logic our way through it. But later on, it does start to make sense and things start to fall together and you recognize, oh, this is why I had to quit that job. This is why I moved to this location. This is why I was drawn to this person. This is why X, Y, and Z happened when I'm following my intuition. But sometimes in the moment, it can be scary and confusing. Yeah, of course.
Thank you so much for your question. So the little photos are quite small, but I think that this is Alyssa. So hi, Alyssa. Thanks for joining us today. If anyone else has any questions, like please don't be shy. Like we love questions. So while we're giving y'all a chance to think about what you want to ask Shannon, and then this can be related to anything, to intuition. This can be specifically about your own intuition. Like we want to hear from you. So let's talk a little bit about how human design can come into play.
Okay, absolutely. So this is another thing I like, because I like everything. My whole thing is we're all individuals and there's a lot of general themes that we can pull from, that we understand: people pleasing, boundaries. We understand these things. We're all learning these lessons together and we're so individualized. So that's why I love astrology and human design, just finding things that connect with me, that I can see, oh, this is how this person operates. This is how this person operates. This is how this person operates. And when it comes to intuition, when you look at your human design chart, so anyone who's brand new to human design, you can think of it as like a modern astrology and or a roadmap to being your authentic self. And it pulls from a bunch of different ancient and modern sciences and human profiling systems that just show a lot of information about you, about how you're wired, how you make decisions, where you're taking in information, where you're putting out information, your different gifts, your strengths, your weaknesses, your digestion, how to structure your days, just so much customized to you. Now there's these different centers in your chart, and one of the centers is called your splenic center or your spleen center, so splenic or spleen. And that center governs intuition. So a theme of that center is how your intuition functions. If that center in your human design chart, and if anyone doesn't to know their chart, you have to know your birth time, location, and date. And then you can just Google human design chart. There's myhumandesign.com. There's mybodygraph.com. These are all free. You can plug the information in and get your chart for yourself. When we go into the splenic center, it'll either be colored in or it'll be white or open. Have you pulled your chart yet, Gina?
You know, I did pull my chart and I'm having a hard time like gathering the information.
Yeah.
But let's talk a little bit about your chart since I know that you have those details at your fingertips.
Okay, perfect. So basically, yeah, you can have this center open, so it'd be white in your chart, open or undefined, or defined or colored in. So again, open, undefined is white, defined, colored in is dark. When you have it open versus defined, your intuition functions in different ways. Then there's another layer to this, but the first kind of layer is if you have it open, like myself, what that means is you have openness, receptivity to other people's intuition. So again, open white means you're literally catching and receiving the intuitive information and what's healthy and best for other people around you and or other people you're deeply connected to. So this is also why I did have the story that I'm so intuitive for other people, but I have a challenge when it comes to myself. Now, that's not entirely true. It's partially true. I'm very intuitive for other people because I have this open. I'm constantly receiving the intuition of other people around me, my best friend, my clients, just people I'll be in a room with and my family members, and I'll feel their intuition and I'll know things for them. I'll see things for them. I'll sense things for them because I'm open and receiving that information, actually amplifying it for myself. So that makes more of like an intuitive who can really take in and absorb the intuition of others. Now, the opposite is you have it colored in. And when you have it colored in, this means that you have a very consistent ability to connect to your own intuitive information. So colored and defined means you're more expressing it out into the world, whereas open white means you're more receiving it from the world. So when it's colored and defined, it means you've got consistent access to your intuition, to your body, to the sense, to what's healthy and best for you. And it's communicating to you at all times. So when we have it defined and colored in, my advice for people is always, you got to get still. You got to get quiet. You got to tune into yourself. You got to tune into your body because you have access moment to moment to moment to moment, what your intuition is communicating, but it's not going to yell things to you. It's going to whisper things to you. It's going to give you senses. It's going to give you feelings. It's going to give you knowings. It's going to communicate in, I don't think you're going to feel good after you eat that food. Not, don't eat that food. It's just more of a, I sense that food's going to make me feel tired. And so you know, and you eat the food, and then 2 hours later, like, I had a feeling that food was going to make me feel tired. So that's kind of how it is. Or you're about to have a business meeting and your intuition kicks in and you have a feeling that it's not going to go well, right? You just have the feeling. But it's not like alarms going off, but you just have a feeling, I don't think this is going to go well. I don't think these are my people, whatever. You have the feeling, you go into the meeting, blah, blah, blah. It turns out you get really exhausted, really drained. Something happens, it doesn't go well. And you leave being like, I knew that, I sensed that, right? Your intuition's communicating. Even around just when to rest, when to work, when to rest, what foods to eat. It's all around your health and wellness and your intuition. So that's open and defined. So again, knowing different things. And for open people, again, I like to say, you're going to be like hella intuitive. I just had to say it for other people. You're going to have that information for other people and you can trust it. You can also very much trust what you're intuitively picking up about other people and especially environments. You're going to know the health and wellness of an environment, of an individual around you, just intuitively. In order to really get a clear connection to your own intuition, it's best that you take some space from other people, that you clear your energy, that you're out in nature, and you really tune into yourself and you're not as much influenced by other people because you could be influenced by the intuition and knowings of other people when you're around them. It's the same if you're like an empath, like an emotional empath, and it really helps, right, to get your emotional clarity to be away from people because when you're around people, it's like their heightened emotions can really affect you. You're feeling their happiness, so you're like riding with it, but not so connected to like, am I really happy here? Or even sadness. So it helps just kind of take a step back, clear their energy out, and then tune into yourself. So it's more of just the awareness that can really help both individuals, whether you have it defined or open or undefined, you're both deeply intuitive. It's just, how am I working with this and accessing it? And the next thing I'll share just real quick is out of that splenic center, you'll see different gates. So a lot of people have questions about the gates in human design. The gates are numbers around each center, and they represent your different gifts. It's so fun to get to know your gates because it shows what you're naturally good at, what your potential is, what your gifts are, what other people want from you, what you're supposed to like work with in your business or in your personal relationships or in your health and wellness or whatever it happens to be. So the gates around this intuitive center show us your unique intuitive gifts, and they get even more detailed than like the clair abilities that I talked about. So it could be things like you have a natural gift for sensing patterns in people. So you're very entrepreneurial. You can sense patterns. You can feel and sense what's going to be successful, what didn't work in the past, what can you leverage to make, you know, people and yourself more successful in the future. It could be around being really good at kind of adjusting, fine-tuning people. So someone like a chiropractor or a physical therapist or even a coach, just kind of know what's out of alignment for an individual and how to bring it back into alignment. And it's all intuitive. So those are the different gates. And I'll just share with people, I'm like, talk. I have a free resource that I created on this because people are so interested in this topic. So is it okay to share about that, Gina?
Absolutely.
Okay. So I just felt like, because it's like, it's a lot to take in. So basically what I did was I took the information that I shared, and then every single gate, I wrote out the specific description and the intuitive gift and the clair ability it connects with. And that's called Discovering Your Intuitive Gifts Using Human Design. And there's a link in the link tree of my Instagram, Shannon Keating. I can make sure you have it as well. It's just, you know, a link, download the guide, take the guide, reference your own chart. It's really, really helpful. It's a lot of information. I did a podcast episode all about it too, just because people are so interested in this topic. And so I kind of made it like really simple and kind of like a go-to guide so you can kind of get to know your gifts, how it functions, and kind of work with it in that way. But if anyone has questions right now, I'm also open to answering them. But I'll stop there on that topic for now, because there's a lot that I could just keep going.
Love it. Yeah, we've covered a lot of ground. I mean, it's a big topic, and, you know, and we only have so much time together, but it is such a nice introduction to intuition and human design and how to have access to this roadmap that's going to help you to be a happier, more successful human being, a happier, more successful entrepreneur, friend, everything. So that is really wonderful. And so, Shannon, I want to ask you this question. It's not on my handy little list I have over here of questions. It's a little off the beaten path. But so for someone who is new to tuning into their intuition, do you have any affirmations that you'd recommend for them? Do you have any words of encouragement? Because if you're new to this, you know, you want to be patient with yourself, right?
Yes, absolutely. That's a really wonderful question. I would say, as far as, well, I would say I want to just give like some tips for how to connect and then some affirmations that can follow that.
Mm.
As far as starting to listen and just getting connected to your intuition, the best thing you could do is spend time with yourself, an uninterrupted time with yourself. And it could be a meditation. It could also be journaling and or kind of looking in the mirror and having a conversation in the mirror with yourself. Any of those will work really well, but just seeing, where do you already have the answers? Where could you give yourself advice? Where could you give yourself some words of love and encouragement? What do you know that you need to hear? What do you feel about a certain situation or certain person? What's coming through? And just doing that regularly will really show you, whoa, I am very intuitive. I do have a lot of information. I do get a clear read on other people and situations. So again, whether it's you sitting in front of the mirror and having a conversation, or it's you journaling with yourself, asking a question and answering, or, you know, in a meditation, you're just getting still and seeing if you hear anything, that would be where I would start. And then the next thing is, as far as affirmations go, and I see that question too that I'll answer, the affirmations I would really go into, I would work on trusting yourself, because I think so many of us, there's just been so many instances where we felt something or we knew something or we sensed something and we didn't trust ourselves, or we put someone else on a pedestal and we trusted them over ourselves, or we weren't validated, or we weren't, given what we needed in that time to trust ourselves, or we're scared we're going to make a mistake again. Whatever it happens to be, I think we all can work on trusting ourselves and believing in ourselves. So I would create something around like, it is safe for me to trust myself. I'm working on trusting myself. I can trust in myself. Just something around trusting in yourself will really, really help.
Those are wonderful affirmations and fabulous tips. Thank you so much for sharing them, Shannon. I want to make sure we have time to get to Lorena's fab questions. So you go ahead and answer those, girl.
Okay. So first question from Lorena is, would you say everyone is intuitive and some people have their intuition blocked, or are some people just born with a gift? Okay. I love this question.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm back. Okay, so I love this question because the first way I would answer it is everybody is intuitive. Every single person is intuitive. Everyone, even people who are like, oh, that person's not connected. They're not intuitive. They're not, doing their inner work. They're still intuitive. We're all born equipped with an intuition. We're all born with inner knowings, with feelings about things, able to read situations, other people, kind of stay on our life path, have different dreams, desires. So that's all intuition, and we're all intuitive. And yes, people can be blocked in the area of intuition and can not be listening, not be trusting, disregarding. And there's so many reasons why intuition could be blocked, or someone could just be literally like not tuning in, not blocking off. And just to give some common ones, one could definitely, because Lorena talks about food and just like diet and what you're eating, that can really fog and cloud up your intuition. So she talked about being vegan and maybe taking out meat, taking out other foods could help clear things up. Whereas eating a lot of sugar, a lot of processed foods, that could absolutely block up your intuition, because your intuition's living in your body. And so if you're eating things that aren't healthy for your body, you're not listening to your body, you're not connected, or certain things are affecting you and giving you allergies or brain fog, it's going to be cloudy, it's going to be foggy, it's going to be hard to deeply connect. It's almost like if you were to look at a river or any body of water, and it's like clear and it's smooth and it's flowing and you can see to the bottom, right? When you're eating healthfully, when you're nourishing yourself, you're drinking lots of water, you're getting outside, you're doing the things that are healthy for you. But if you're taking in a lot of, again, processed foods or sugars or even foods that don't agree with you, it's like you're tossing up all the soil. It becomes mucky, it becomes cloudy. You can't really feel or see as clearly. I would say that's a really good analogy for intuition and diet, and something that could block it. Another thing is trauma. And just to, bring it up a little bit lightly, but it's not a light topic, but traumas and past traumas could definitely block somebody's intuition, because there's so much emotional, turmoil is the better word, in the body. And maybe there was an intuition or alarms that went off, and then the trauma happened, and it can really disconnect someone from, again, connecting to their intuition. And then another thing could just literally be what I shared earlier. If as a kid you weren't validated, or you weren't empowered to make your own decisions, or to believe in yourself, or to trust in yourself, or you were really controlled in certain ways, or you felt certain things and your parents or adult figures were like, no, you're wrong, or you're bad, or go in time out, or your opinion doesn't matter, or your voice doesn't matter, or your feelings aren't valid, any of that, which I think we all unfortunately have experienced our own versions of that, any of that could create a situation where I feel kind of blocked around my intuition, or I'm not really leaning in, or I'm not really trusting in it. And then another layer before I go into like, are some people just born with it? The way that we start to connect with it, right? Similar to what Gina asked earlier. So if we do know, okay, I have traumas, or in the past I wasn't fully, empowered around my intuition, or maybe I'm eating things that are clouding things, the first thing we can really do for ourselves is learn how to feel safe in our bodies. And if that requires you to see a therapist or work through the trauma and get support, definitely do it. like somatic therapies or different things that can really help you to work through things, or eating like, better foods for yourself, or working through the limiting beliefs of the past, inner child healing. All of those tools would be amazing. But making sure you feel safe in your body and you know how to calm down your nervous system. So you know how to take deep breaths, you know how to connect to your body, you know how to find a safe space in your home, you know how to disconnect from the chaos of the outside world, you know how to tune in a calm, relaxed state. That is going to be so healing for you to start to trust yourself and your intuition, because again, your intuition is in your body. It's not out there. It's not always in your head. I mean, you can get thoughts and knowings, but when you have a grounded nervous system, when you're in your body, you're going to be so much more connected. So that can really help people. And then as far as some people just born with a gift, I do feel some people are born, it's all like nature versus nurture. So some of the nurture stuff we spoke about, I feel some people, I don't want to say like someone's more than others, but I do feel some people are born with heightened intuitive gifts. And I think we can look at, if you believe in astrology like I do, like some astrology signs and different placements make someone really intuitive. Even in human design, there are certain gates and different things that make someone very intuitive. But it's not saying they're more intuitive than somebody else. It's just, oh yeah, that person has some big gifts, some big intuitive gifts. And we can recognize that about someone. It's the same way it's like athletic abilities. Oh yeah, that person has some athletic genes, and we can recognize that. Or that person is, very beautiful, and we can recognize that. Or wow, that person is just so good with their words, and we can recognize that. I do feel we can all develop gifts. Whatever we want to develop, we can develop if it's authentic to us and we want to develop it. And I do believe, and I've seen this in my own life and in other people, that there's some people who, yeah, they just have a really strong connection with their intuition, or they have gifts, or they're trusting in those gifts. So I'd say we could just like recognize that about them and be like, yeah, that is a very intuitive individual. And then, okay, the next, I want to see if there's any more questions. Okay, so this next question, which I started to talk about, yeah, with you tapping into your intuition about after going vegan, heard about dying being related. Absolutely. So just kind of queuing off of what I already shared. Yes. And I did I'm always very mindful of food, and just, everyone, like, listen to yourself when it comes with food, and no dogma around what you need to eat. And I have a past history of eating disorders, and I'm just very sensitive about the topic, and just making sure everyone, tune into you and do what's best for you. And I have experimented with a few different like healthy cleanses, liver cleanses, doing celery juice, doing different teas, different things that like really kind of keep your body really clear and pure. And my connection to my intuition is so heightened in those times versus if I'm traveling a bunch or eating a lot of whatever and just not listening and not being as mindful. So there's definitely a correlation with what we're feeding our bodies, how we're feeding our bodies. If vegan works really well and taking out the meat works really well, adding in the vegetables, the juices, the fruits, it's all higher vibrational foods. So it just gives your body a clearer space to tap in, a clearer connection to things, more connected to your digestive system. And I would say there's 1000% a correlation. But again, what I tell people is you gotta trust your intuition around food as well. So you have to really feel into, how does this food really make me feel at an emotional level, at a mental level, at a physical level, and then go from there. If the food's making you feel good and energized and grounded, it's good for you. But if it's not, then that's also your body and your intuition like trying to help you out.
So phenomenal. Thank you so much for answering all these fab questions. Thank you for all the questions we got today. Thank you, Lorena. Thank you, Alyssa. One of my favorite takeaways so far from what you've shared is that, maybe the stories that you have told yourself in the past, or the stories that other people have told you about yourself, it's important to ask yourself whether those are true. And you can change those stories along the way. So cheers to evaluating those stories and changing them and going towards what feels good and right. So Shannon, where can we learn more about you? How can we work with you?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Gina, for the time. And just such a fun, engaged audience today. So that's what always makes live so much more fun.
Absolutely.
And yeah, I mean, you can find me on Instagram at Shannon Keating. Website is shannonkeating.com. LinkedIn is Shannon Keating. So it's easy to find me. And if you want to connect, I mean, hello at Shannon Keating is my email address. So you can always email me. You can send me a message on Instagram. And I also have a podcast, Unmasked and Open Hearted. So you can listen to my podcast if you'd like to. And again, there's a whole episode on intuition and human design. I go even deeper into it, and the link to the guide is there. So those are all the places you can find me if anything connected, or you want to reach out or ask any specific questions.
Thank you so much. So excited to have some more fabulous people head your direction, and tune into what you're putting out in the world, and in your awesome podcast, in the freebie that you mentioned about discovering your intuitive gifts. So thank you so much for your time today, Shannon. And thank you everyone for tuning in, and cheers to listening to yourself and making the best decisions for yourself and your body.
Thanks. Thank you, Gina. And thank you, everyone.
Bye, everyone. Thank you. Have a great day.
Bye.